What's good, everybody? It is your boy Super Saiyan Cat back with another Xenoverse 2 video for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the top 10 super attacks, in my opinion, that could use a buff when DLC 7 drops, because we're supposedly going to be getting a skill fix along with the netcode fix when the DLC 7 end update finally comes out. Now, before we get this video started, guys, two things I want to mention. The first is this upcoming Sub Saturday. It is part 2 to the first Sub Saturday that we did, and one that a lot of people were asking in the comments of that video if there would be a part 2 to that one, and that is your greatest comebacks on Xenoverse 2. This was one that had probably some of the most submissions out of all the Sub Saturdays, and again, it was the very first one. So after 2 months, we are finally getting back around to your greatest comebacks on Xenoverse 2 from you guys. Be sure to send those clips to the email down below in the description. Now, next thing I want to mention, guys, is really an apology, and that is for the fact that this video is 1080p 30 frames per second as opposed to 1080p 60 frames per second, because I had to record the footage with my PS4 because for some reason my Elgato was acting up. It would not work. It was working with my Xbox and PC, but when I hook it up to my PS4, the screen would appear black and the capture card would appear nothing as well. And usually when I have this problem in the past, if I just disconnect and reconnect everything after a couple tries, it usually starts to work. Nothing seemed to work this morning, and I really wanted to get this video out today so I can announce Sub Saturday for you guys, since we did not get one last week. So I do apologize for that, but let's jump straight into the video on the top 10 super attacks that could use a buff, in my opinion. Alright, guys, we're going to get this started with the strike skills, since there are much less that need a buff in my opinion. And the first one we're going to be talking about is, yes, Super Dragon Fist. Now, some of these moves are moves that I talked about in the past, but obviously they still did not get an update like Super Dragon Fist, and still really could use one. Super Dragon Fist is a move that I honestly really love. The animation is pretty clean in my opinion. I would use it personally if your opponent wasn't able to vanish that last hit. If you notice, most of the damage comes from that last hit. From the first two initial hits, you're only getting 1330, and the move in total does 2930. So a whole 1600 damage comes from that last hit, but your opponent is able to vanish it, and that is the messed up part about this move. If they were to buff it to where you cannot vanish it, just like a Burning Slash for example, then you would definitely see this move used a lot more online, because again, it is definitely a dope move. Everybody really likes this move for the most part. I've never heard anybody say that they don't really love Super Dragon Fist in Xenoverse 2. The only issue is, again, that you are able to vanish it if used against you and get out of that last hit, which does the most damage. And on top of that, when your opponent does vanish that, you're just left wide open to be attacked. So if they were to buff that and take away that vanish, then Super Dragon Fist, in my opinion, would definitely be a move you would see online a lot more. But that's all we got to say for this one. Let's move on to the next. Moving on to the next skill that I really feel needs a buff as far as strike skills go. Yes, it is a counter, and it is Super God Shock Flash. This move is the weakest counter in the game by far, literally 900 damage. What is the point of spending 1 key bar to get 900 damage when there are so many other counters that you can use that will give you so much more damage? Now, yes, Super God Shock Flash is the one that you cannot vanish out of. You cannot use your stamina to get out of it unless you use an evasive. But even then, I would prefer them to buff this move to where it did about 2500, 3000 damage, but your opponent was able to vanish it if they wanted to for a split second, for example, like Pressure Sign or Burst Rush. Those are the more common counters that you see online, and that is because they do way more than 900 damage. Again, 900 damage basically makes this move useless, and the real bad part is that this move in the anime, when used with Goku against Frieza, did so much damage really to Frieza when he put his fingers out and then did the closed punch fist. So I would really love to see a damage buff come to this move, even if it comes at the expense of them making it to where you can actually vanish it. But that's all we have to say for Super God Shock Flash. Let's move on to the last strike skill on the list. Alright, guys, moving on to the last strike skill. It is one that is similar to Super Dragon Fist, and that is Rakshasa's Claw. With Rakshas's Claw, as you just saw right there, you got 1120 damage from all the initial hits, but the last hit is where you really get all the damage from, as it jumped from 1120 all the way to 2450. That is a major difference in damage, but the major issue with this move, one, is the fact that you can vanish that last hit and get out of it and get away from the damage, and you will be left wide open if you are the one using it and your opponent does vanish it. Now, the other major issue that comes with this move is the fact that when you use it in an actual combo, the move gives your opponent stamina back as if they were in an infinite combo for some reason. I do not know why that happens, but if they were to buff the fact that it gives your opponent stamina back like they were in an infinite combo, and the fact that your opponent can vanish that last hit, leaving you wide open to be attacked, then Rakshas's Claw would be a move I feel you would see a lot online, because it is such a clean and dope move. Again, the only issues are that you can vanish the last hit with it, and on top of the fact that your opponent gets 2 bars of stamina back while being hit by it, which is more than enough to vanish it every single time. So again, if they were to buff those two things, I feel Rakshas's Claw would definitely be another move that would be used a lot more. But that's it for the strike skills. Now we're going to move on to the key base skills. Moving on to the key base skills, the first one I want to talk about is one that a lot of people talk about, and that is Big Bang Attack. Big Bang Attack is a fan favorite move. Honestly, it could have been an ultimate in this game. I personally don't understand why it's not. It was pretty much an ultimate in the anime. But the major issue with Big Bang Attack is that you really cannot land this move. The only race that can land this move is a Saiyan off of a knockaway attack like that right there. If you were to use a regular square triangle circle knockaway attack, it would not work. But off this combo right here, it will work with the Saiyans all day, every day for some reason. Now, it works with Saiyans, but again, it does not work with any other race in the game. Even Vegeta, who the combo is made for. I mean, it's his move. How does it not work off of any of his knockaway combos either? It truly does not make sense to me, but if they were to just buff the fact that this move could actually land off of knockaway attacks consistently, then this move would be another one that you would see online a lot more, instead of moves like maybe Perfect Shot or Vanishing Ball and things like that, because Big Bang Attack may do less damage, but it is such a nostalgic move and just such a clean move at the same time that people would definitely love to see it working with every single race and on Vegeta as well. Moving on with the list, guys, the next move is another one that comes from Vegeta, and that is Atomic Blast. Atomic Blast is a move that does pretty decent damage if you get it on the mid charge. As you see, does 4,000 damage, which is actually very good for a 1 key bar move. But at the same time, it is far too slow between the animation and the charge up time to actually make this move useful and landable in any situation besides really a heavy stamina break online. Now, I'm sure there are some other moves that you can use to freeze your opponent that may let you land Atomic Blast, but at the same time, this move needs to be buffed to where you can land it off of a knockaway attack, land it off a knockdown attack. You can't even land this move off of a sledgehammer. For some reason, it goes right through your opponent. So in my opinion, all they gotta do to this move is make it to where you can actually use it in some kind of situation with a regular combo. If they were to do that, I would use this move all day, every day, because I love this move. It was one of my favorite from the old Budokai and the Budokai Tenkaichis and all that. I used to love Atomic Blast with Majin Vegeta. It was just such an amazing move, and it always did a lot of damage, which it has the potential to on Xenoverse as well if you get the medium charge on it. But it is so hard to land that you never have probably really seen this move online, and if you did see it, it's because your opponent was trying to disrespect the hell out of you. So I'd definitely love to see a buff come to Atomic Blast where they make this move more useful, whether it be off of a knockdown or a knockaway combo. So I guarantee people will be using this move online a lot more. Alright guys, moving on to the next skill. It is another one that surprisingly comes from Vegeta, and that is Finish Breaker. As you see, I just got 3,621 damage from it right there. But the major issue with this move is not the fact that it does decent damage or anything like that, but as you see right here, it is absolutely terrible when it comes to tracking. It's the only key spread move like this where you throw a bunch of key blasts as a super attack or ult, to where it has absolute zero tracking on it. Like, this move you cannot land unless you are up close to your opponent and using it at the point where you would normally use a stamina break. And using it in that way is just not very smart, because you can get so much more combo damage from so many other moves by actually using a knock away or a knockdown combo into a different type of move as opposed to finish breaker. So what I would like to see with this move is just give it a tracking patch. Make it useful off of a knockaway attack like every other key-based move that is similar to this one in the game. If that were to be done, you would be surprised, because this move actually does a good amount of damage as to how many people may actually start using it. But as of right now, you never really see it online, period, and that is because it has absolute zero tracking in this game. So if they were to buff that, this move would definitely become a lot more useful. Moving on to the next key-based skill, it's one that I just absolutely love because it comes from Gohan and Piccolo, but that is Mizenko, guys. Mizenko is literally, I don't understand why it does 1,800, like, why is it so weak? It was never a move that was weak in the anime. It was one of Gohan's best attack, one of Piccolo's attacks. So why does this move only do 1,863 damage? I would love to see this move get a damage buff to where it did about 20, even if it just did 2,500 to 3,000 damage, somewhere in that range. I would love to see this move get a buff like that, because then it would be actually a bit more useful as opposed to the 1,863 damage that you get, where you can get so much more damage with so many more moves in this game. So I would definitely love to just see a damage buff come to Mizenko, and then this move would be absolutely amazing in my opinion if they were to do just that one simple thing. But now let's move on to the next key base skill. We only have 3 left to go on the list. Alright, moving on to the last 3, guys. The first one we're going to talk about is Sudden Storm. Sudden Storm is by far the weakest 2 key bar move in the game. It is weaker than Mizenko. Does less damage than Mizenko does, as you see, doing 1,462 with 14 hits and 1,861 if you get the full 15 hits. Is that worth 2 key bars of damage at all? Like, is it? In any kind of way, shape, or form, is that worth 2 key bars? No, you're not even getting 1,000 damage per key bar with this move. The only thing that needs to be done to this move, just like Mizenko, it only needs a damage buff. If it were to get a damage buff to where this move did about at least 3,000 damage plus, considering the fact that it takes 2 key bars, then this move would be absolutely amazing, and you would probably see it used online again like you did in the beginning. In the beginning of the game, though, people just did not realize that it was so weak and did so little damage. They just loved the fact that it had such great tracking when used off of a knockaway or any kind of attack. You could just launch the move, period, and it did a lot of damage. I mean, was able to track your opponent perfectly. But if they were to just give this move a damage buff to where it was actually useful, then that would be absolutely amazing, and I personally would love to use it online again. But that's everything for Sudden Storm. Let's move on to the final 2 skills on the list. Alright, moving on to the final 2 skills on the list. The next one is another 2 key bar skill, which does not do enough damage for being 2 key bars, and that is Lightning of Absolution. Even if you are up close to land that 3rd hit, you are still only getting 2,928 damage. But from a move like Heavenly Arrow, without the additional input, you're getting 3,192 damage, and Heavenly Arrow only takes 1 bar of key. So why in the world would anybody use Lightning of Absolution when they could use Heavenly Arrow basically in the exact same situations as Lightning of Absolution, but get more damage than it at the same time? So Lightning of Absolution may be a very cool move, very dope looking, but they definitely need to give it a damage buff to make it more attracting than moves like Heavenly Arrow. There's no reason not to use Heavenly Arrow or other moves instead of Lightning of Absolution, because you're going to get more damage and you could use it basically in the same way off of a knockdown and knockaway attacks. So I'll definitely like to see Lightning of Absolution get a damage buff as well, because it is just such a dope and clean move that it deserves to have some more damage, so it would actually be used more online. Alright, finally on to the last move, guys, which is another 2 key bar super attack, and that is Super Explosive Wave. No 2 key bar move, in my opinion, unless it has some outstanding attribute to it where you get like a boost in attack, or there's just gotta be something else, some kind of bonus along with it that none of these have should do less, in my opinion, than at least like 3400 damage with a full-on key base build like my Super Saiyan Blue Gohan build is. So again, to me, the only thing this move needs to have done to it is just a damage buff. Why are there so many more 1 key bar moves in this game that do so much more damage than all 3 of the 2 key bar moves that I just mentioned in this video? So again, just like the last 3, the only thing I would really like to see done to Super Explosive Wave is a major damage buff to where it actually is a move that is more attractive and you would see more of online. But all in all, man, let me know what you guys think on my list down below in the comments, or if there are any other skills that you would love to see a buff come to in Xenoverse 2 and why you would love to see that move get buffed down below in the comments. Be sure to share that. But as always, man, thank you guys for watching. Really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Until next time, I hope you have a good day. Peace, y'all.